Hello and welcome to the first of my question and answer sessions for the Ignatz Speak novel. Thanks for joining me. Um, bit of slow questions coming in. The first one I have here. I have a sister who is madly attracted to you and says she has night fantasies and wondered if you might. No, I don't think that's an appropriate idea. Next. This is from Sean Duffield. Do you know fish can hear what you're thinking right before you sneeze? Yeah, then why don't we have blue whale on Christmas Day, Sean? This is from Leslie Davis. I was telling Leslie that this book is more of a learning curve than I would have liked. She asks, what's the reason for the learning curve? Well, I think the first answer is it's rounded, based in reality, and each attempt to establish a world of 100 or so years ago brings more and more questions and aspects to represent. Each line of inquiry opens up a new one, so it's a bit difficult to contain the story at times. Second, as most of you know, it's an adaptation of a graphic novel script I wrote but never published. Comic stories often jump about in time or have the ability to do so quite easily, and that's a key pro in this story. But in prose with the same close eye on the protagonist, it can make for a very jarring read. Also, the lead is, as those of you reading it will know, very animated, very jittery. Everything has to be slowed down, go deeper into the moment, painting the scenes, odd different cultures and time periods. In itself, it's led to better character work and poetic writing and some eccentric passages which I can't imagine the book being without. So the next question is, what's been the biggest difference in telling the story of Ignatz in prose form versus script? I've been thinking about this a lot, Andy Luke, and a good analogy is the adaptation of Preacher, whereby season 1 of the TV series slowed down everything that was in the comics when they eventually got to the comics. Actually, it was season 2. And like the writers thought, this version is a lot more work for me. The plan was, still is, to turn a page into a chapter with what was in the comics. But with updating daily, I start to get more interested in telling small stories. I think this works to various degrees. It conveyed better Trevich's poor grasp on Sim Still and the vastness of his travels. I'm aiming to cut back on it some and put more faith in the last 10 drafts to ease the process. So this next one's from John Robbins, who writes, I wonder about any legal aspect of your writing. Are you free from the fear of some form of libel when mixing fact with fiction in your writing about a historical figure? Have you investigated the matter? Thanks, John. It's something I concerned myself with when I was writing Axel America, and I'm paying an eye to it here, although it doesn't really bother me. Sure, I'm aware of the ramifications. I was just editing chapter 10 and noticed the Liberal MP Pike Peace has a descendant called Peace that's also a Liberal MP today in the same borough. I'm sticking quite close to Wasserstein's book, which is in the other room right now, and a book by David Lampney, which was written in the 60s or 70s. It's only recently come to light, and there's a copy on its way to me. the only one that I could find. And actually, as I was saying to John and Amy, I'm heading down to Trinity soon to pick up another very rare book written by the man himself in 1932. Not pick it up, I'll be bound to the library for that. So with Wasserstein and David Lamp, but maybe not Trevich himself, they're historians whose work can be verified. It's certainly something authors writing about real figures should keep in mind, the legal aspect of it. And maybe when the finished edition goes to press, I'll put on a very slim commentary with it just to cover myself. Actually, my biggest concern in this area is with the estate of Bernard Wasserstein and any accusations of plagiarism we might encounter. There's no disputing it's the best source. It's a clear leader in a very small field of Trevichology. I must have read Secret Lives of Lincoln 10 times. I want to stick by it, but also forge my own path with additional research that Wasserstein and Lamp have maybe already done, colouring in the details. This often means that I'm going to have to be smart enough to steer away from legal recourse. Assuming I can do that, I also want to respect the effort that's been put in and not simply ape Wasserstein's findings. John also says, don't know how you're maintaining the pace, Andy, what with the writing of the book itself, then writing all those peripheral pieces too. You'll go marginally mad. Well, I've had some help in that area. Hi John, hi all my patrons. Hello monkeys. Thanks guys. Richard Barr asks, can you shed any greater light on the experiences which led Lincoln to convert to Buddhism? So this isn't an area I touch until the second half of the book. Though you'll see the hints, the Orthodox Jewish upbringing, the Christian witnessing, round trees, Quaker altruism, all point to him adopting various belief systems for different periods of time. In one sense, Buddhism suited Trevich as a path to high society, money, popularity. He converts in 1925. About the time Eastern religions are in vogue, and you have the Theosophical Society and Madame Blavatsky, and though Trevich moved in those circles, I think Buddhism was genuinely an interest for a new identity, an attempt to quiet his frantic mind. Richard goes on to say, and would you describe Trevich generally and outside the circumstances and consequences of his skullduggery as a spiritual man, a man who was concerned with the condition of his soul? And that's an interesting one, as I was thinking of another question for myself, as in, do you really see Trevich as a bad guy? Sure, there's good in him. I think he certainly believed he was a good guy, that he was a spiritual creature. Like we all like to think well of ourselves, and it's kind of necessary so we can live and function. In his time with the churches in Montreal, he certainly believed in the salvation of his own soul, although there was no evidence anyone else did. In fact, Wasserstein notes that there was no evidence that he converted a single soul to Judaism. something which I think which comes direct from some of the people in the church that he pissed off, possibly Frank Burt. One of the key aspects for me is how he treated those around him. He seems to be quite happy to think he played by certain fair rules, but as the story progresses, if you pay close attention to his family, even when they're barely featured, because I think that's a key pointer. He took carte blanche with the Buddhist maxim, existence is suffering, to pour upon himself feelings of depression and worthlessness, and basically to think about how shit everything is. But beyond that, I think he's also open to moments of serious soul searching and measuring his faults quite honestly. Though it's more likely other people's faults. There's another old Buddhist proverb, the cause of death is not disease but birth. I think it's key to Trevich's chameleon shifting. Anytime he's bored with an identity, he sort of rebirths himself. And yeah, he's open to quite ignoring the empathy and the beauty of the human soul, unless it aligns with his own aims, his own wants. And at times he's capable of being utter. Anyway, that's the first Q&A. I hope you liked it. Maybe do another one of these in a month or two. I just want to thank you again. This week I've managed to get a new art blog up, a photo grid from some of the scenes through the first 5 chapters. I've also managed to make progress on my other book, Occupied, with finally this week starting it and just racing through the first 2 chapters at the same time that I wrote chapter 10 of Ignatz. So I'm really happy. And all this extra work, it's been a joy to put in. I really love doing this behind the scenes stuff, and I'm glad you're here for me to do it too. Tell a few people, see if they'll come along, and drop me comments, drop me questions, use a Patreon, let's get a bit of bustle around it. But hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great week yourself. All the best.